Sometimes you'll never know what you come into when you go to yard sales, or in this case, an amateur radio convention, and you pick up a box with some randoms in it. Go over this little old school radio right here today. This little guy right here is my Yaesu VX-170. Picked this up at an amateur radio convention. Just going along one of the many tables there that other hams were selling used equipment or latest products, and a couple of the other stores are there, usually like Ham Radio Outlet. I believe it's ABR Industries, which does coax cable and such. So anyway, picked up this little guy there at the radio convention. So it was in a box with a bunch of other ones that I have still off to the side there. They're like project radios, and they're older radios and such. One of my Elmers call it a critter box. Funny term, never heard it before, so it was kind of cool. So yeah, I think I paid $20 in all for a critter box. It had this radio. Like I said, I think I had two others that they're from the 90s or even the late 80s. I can't remember. I'll have to go pull them all up. And I was particularly eyeing this radio, and I originally was just going to purchase this radio, but everything else in the box came with it, so I thought, why not? So I want to go over this today, just because, in my opinion, any radio that works is a good radio. And as you know, here on Nuclear Vault Readiness, we're all about trying to prepare for what possibly could happen in any kind of quote-unquote apocalyptic scenarios that our world may face, whether they may be man-made or natural. You always want to be prepared in some way, shape, or form. So I thought today we'd kind of go over this older radio and just kind of give you the rundown on it. So again, this is the Yaesu VX-170 model. It is a 2-meter only analog radio, nothing digital about this. It has a nice, solid, very heavy plastic here, but this part up here is actually metal. So it's a mix of heavy plastic and metal casing. Nice and heavy. It probably almost weighs a pound, and that's with the battery in it, which I'll show you now. I believe it is a rechargeable nickel cadmium. And I know this says Redivus, but I ordered a replacement because the original was past its life. I could not recharge it any longer. So fortunately, you could still get replacements for these. And funny enough, this same battery pack here is compatible with the Yaesu FT60, if I recall. It's the same setup of double A's here, nickel cadmium, and rechargeables. And I believe there was another case that you could buy for this as an accessory where you could pop in 6 double A's to run this radio. So kind of cool. It is interchangeable with another Yaesu that I had. Hence, I found out, took the same battery, went to order one. Just one of those that goes in there and you get the little snap on there. It does have the 3 sensors on it for its cradle. I currently do not have a cradle, this one particularly, so I use my Yaesu FT60s. And anyway, back to the 3 here. So that would be your positive, negative, and your temperature sensor, which is always great from a battery from overheating. Turn it on via up here on this top knob. See, it's at 7.5 volts right now. And that's just a frequency I happen just to put in. It's not saved. It's actually not even programmed correctly to transmit on this, but this is one of the higher repeater towers in the area. I haven't got anything on it this evening. And it's a very simple radio. Like I said, it's only 2 meters. So on volume here, the secondary knob right here changes your frequency, in which they say it goes up by 0.005 since it's just on VFO mode right now. I'm not exactly sure what this is. It actually unscrews, and it almost looks like there's another connector in there. I have yet to figure that out. I've been doing some research on this. I'm familiar with the FT60 that I've used, and it seems like the button layout's kind of the same. So I haven't got to play around with it and take it out. It is an SMA connector. Let me turn this off real quick. I'll show you. This is the original rubber duck that came with it. SMA female there, or excuse me, male. It's really hard to see it up in there. And then the radio itself has the SMA female right there. So good bulky radio, or at least, good weight feeling radio overall. PTT here, I believe this is the open squelch right there. Your very basic 9 key with other functions and secondary function button to get into everything else here. So I'll go ahead and just, there's a couple settings on this. Give me a second here. I actually have a rig picks pulled up, which I will link this in the pinned comment so you can go and just read about this. Gives you all the stats. If you haven't heard of rigpicks.com before, I highly suggest it. You could pretty much look up any radio or receivers, that kind of thing on here from since the 80s and the 70s. And it gives you at least the defaults that would come on the radio, power level, what it has, etc. So a couple of stats on this is it has 3 power levels. It does 5 watts on high, 2 watts on medium. It does 500 milliwatts, half a watt on low. I do not have one of those radios, but so this would be my first one that can do that. I'm kind of interested to put on a better antenna and see what I can get out there. It was first produced in 2005 and discontinued shortly before 2010. It is a Yaesu, so it's Japanese made. You can also get the user manual download off of RigPix as well. Again, I'll put that in the pinned comment. The user manual itself is about 88 pages, which is way more than we can say for one of these manuals right here. Not knocking these, great cheaper radios to get into, but definitely more extensive manual and lots of bells and whistles when it comes to this compared to this. And while I have it here and I'm holding it just so you can see size wise, this is your standard UV5R right here. There's the Yaesu. And this is the newer Baofeng 5RM. You can see the 5RM and the VX-170 are very similar in size. Take the UV5R out of the equation. Even with rubber ducks, 5RM's got a little bit longer antenna. This one's beefier, that's what I call, but it's definitely one of the harder ones. It's not flexible at all, unlike this. So I'm pretty sure this would snap and break if it got caught or whatever. Again, weight-wise, actually, they're almost tit for tat because this is a beefier Baofeng. It's got a nice, bigger battery pack on it. So, and again, it is only a 2 meter as far as transmission goes, but for USA residents, it does receive on 137 through 174, which I think is standard across all 2 meter radios overall. It does use, I believe it's like 1.5 amps on TX, and the battery is like 1.5 amps. So take that for what you will. I know they're not used for long, technically you're not using a handy talkie for long term, but we're focusing more on if you're in the field or just out on your run and your errands, you just want something to reach around the city and such, or your town or whatever. And I never got into what actually the computer chip type setups are on handy talkies. That's something I'm still learning. But this one is a double conversion super heterodyne. Make sure I say that correctly. And from what I understand, that helps not only the receive, but also the process of the transmission when it comes to electrically taking the sound and transmit into radio frequency to then be transmitted. Whereas radios such as the Baofengs and some of the others, I believe, are now computer on a chip. So what you get is what you get with just a tiny computer soldered on permanently onto the board. That is how my understanding goes. And I'm not sure if there's much more otherwise than it is just a cooler radio, in my opinion, because I like retro radios. I have some more over there. I'll probably do some videos on those. but they are definitely fun to have around. And let me see. As far as memory goes, it has 200 regular memory channels. It has one home or back to home channel setting, and it can do NOAA as well, or you can access NOAA. It has the 10 NOAA weather channels on there as well. Well, guys, there you go. Very simple, older school radio. It's definitely robust in the hand. I'd like to put a better antenna on it. Again, the only bad kind of radio is the radio doesn't work. Otherwise, you know, can never not have enough handy talkies, in my opinion. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, I'd appreciate if you share it, you like it, and leave us some comments. Love hearing from y'all, and I want to thank everyone for the support thus far. Remember, always be getting ready. We'll catch you around on the next one.